Hey guys, welcome to HRG Zone YouTube channel. And today I am gonna show you the top 50 best high-spec PC games for 16GB RAM and 6GB VRam PCs 2024. So sit back and relax. Starting off number 50. Marvel's Avengers is a third-person, action-adventure game. It features an original story with single-player and cooperative gameplay. Number 49 is Sniper Elite 5 is a third-person shooter. The game features several large levels, which provide players with various opportunities to infiltrate and extract. Number 48 is Homefront: The Revolution is a first-person shooter game set in an open-world environment with many districts to explore. The player can scavenge for supplies to modify weapons and equipment. Number 47 is Just Cause 3 is an action-adventure game with a third-person perspective. It is set in an open-world environment on the fictional Mediterranean island nation of Medici. The world size is 400 square miles. Number 46 is Far Cry 6 is a first-person shooter game, set in an open-world environment navigable on foot or via various land, water, and air vehicles. Players assume the role of a local rebel named Danny Rojas, a former conscript in the military turned into a guerrilla fighter. Number 45 is God of War. Following the death of Kratos' second wife and Atreus' mother, Faye, the two embark on a journey to fulfill her request that her ashes be spread at the highest peak of the 9 realms. Kratos keeps his troubled past a secret from Atreus, who is unaware of his divine nature. Number 44 is Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War's campaign allows players to assume a custom character, codenamed Bell, with the ability to choose their intelligence agency, skin tone, nationality, and gender, as well as different personality traits that provide in-game perks. Number 43 is Shadow of the Tomb Raider is an action-adventure game played from a third-person perspective. Players take on the role of Lara Croft as she explores environments across Mexico and Peru. Number 42 is Gears of War 4. Many gameplay elements from the previous games are reintroduced, along with new elements such as the drop-shot weapon that fires explosive drills and the buzzkill that fires ricocheting saw blades at enemies. Number 41 is Bright Memory is a first-person shooter with melee elements. Players take control of Shalia, who, in addition to using guns and a sword, also has supernatural abilities such as psychokinesis and unleashing energy blasts. Number 40 is Horizon Zero Dawn is an action role-playing game played from a third-person view. Players take control of Aloy, a hunter who ventures through a post-apocalyptic land ruled by robotic creatures. Number 39 is Middle-earth: Shadow of War is an action-adventure game set in an open world and played from a third-person perspective. The player controls the game's protagonist, Talion, who has several athletic and combative abilities as a ranger of Gondor. Number 38 is Aliens Fire Team Elite. The player assumes the role of a colonial marine on board the UAS Endeavour, a spaceship tasked with responding to a distress call from the outer colonies. The game has 7 character classes: Gunner, Demolisher, Technician, Doc, Phalanx, Lancer, and Recon. Number 37 is Batman: Arkham Knight is an action-adventure game set within an open-world Gotham City, which can be explored freely by the player from the beginning of the game, allowing them to travel seamlessly anywhere within its boundaries. Number 36 is Watch Dogs: Legion is an action-adventure game played from a third-person perspective, and taking place within an open-world setting based upon London, which can be explored either on foot utilizing parkour moves vehicles, or fast-traveling via the city's underground stations. Number 35 is Star Wars Jedi: Fallen Order is an action-adventure video game played from a third-person perspective. The player can use their lightsaber to strike at enemies, or block incoming attacks. Blocking an attack depletes a character's block meter, opening them up to attack when the meter hits 0. Number 34 is The Division 2 is a cover-based third-person shooter with up to 4 players being able to complete missions together. The game takes place in Washington, D.C., 7 months after its predecessor, in which a civil war between survivors and villainous bands of marauders breaks out. Number 33 is A Plague Tale: Innocence. The player assumes control of Amisha Darun from a third-person perspective. For the majority of the game, players need to utilize stealth to avoid hostile encounters, as enemies will kill Amisha instantly if they catch her. Number 32 is Days Gone is a third-person action-adventure game set in a post-apocalyptic open world. The player controls Deacon St. John, an outlaw-turned-drifter bounty hunter who prefers life on the road to wilderness encampments. Number 31 is Battlefield 5 is focused extensively on party-based features and mechanics, scarcity of resources, and removing abstractions from game mechanics to increase realism. Number 30 is Death Stranding. The player controls Sam Bridges, a porter for a company known as Bridges. The player is tasked with delivering supply cargo to various isolated cities known as knots, as well as isolated researchers and survivalists, while also connecting them to a communication system known as the Chiral Network. Number 29 is Dishonored 2 is an action-adventure game with stealth elements played from a first-person perspective. After playing as Empress Emily Caldwin during the prologue, players may decide to play either as Emily or as Corvo Attano. Number 28 is Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands is a tactical cover-based shooter game set in an open-world environment and played from a third-person perspective with an optional first-person view for gun aiming. Number 27 is Final Fantasy VII Remake. Players control Cloud Strife, a former Shinra soldier turned mercenary who joins the eco-terrorist group Avalanche to fight the Shinra Corporation, who have been draining the planet's life energy. Number 26 is World War Z. The game is a cooperative third-person shooter in which 4 players fight against massive hordes of zombies in 7 locations, including New York, Jerusalem, Moscow, Tokyo, Marseille, Rome and Kamchatka. Number 25 is Street Fighter VI. Features 3 overarching game modes: Fighting Ground, World Tour, and Battle Hub. Fighting Ground contains local and online versus battles as well as training and arcade modes, all featuring similar 2D fighting gameplay. Number 24 is Mass Effect: Andromeda is an action role-playing game in which the player takes control of either Sarah or Scott Ryder from a third-person perspective. Both Ryder's appearances and first names can be determined by the player. Number 23 is Chivalry 2 is an action game played from either first-person or third-person perspective, either on foot or on horseback for the first time in the series. Number 22 is Cyberpunk 2077 is an action role-playing game played from a first-person perspective as V. The gameplay is flexible. The 3 primary play styles are Netrunner, Hacking, Techie, Machinery, and Solo, Combat. Number 21 is Monster Hunter World is an action role-playing game played from a third-person perspective. Similar to previous games in the series, the player takes the role of a player-created character who travels to the New World, an unpopulated landmass filled with monsters. Number 20 is Elden Ring. The game is set in an open world. Players can freely explore the lands between and its 6 main areas, which include Limgrave, an area of grassy plains and ancient ruins, and Caelid, a wasteland that is home to undead monsters. Number 19 is Fallout 4 is an action role-playing game set in an open-world environment. Enemies such as mole rats, raiders, super mutants, deathclaws, and feral ghouls return along with the companion dogmeat. Number 18 is Detroit: Become Human is an adventure game played from a third-person view, which is subject to a set and controllable perspective. There are multiple playable characters who can die as the story continues without them. Number 17 is Hitman 3 is a stealth game played from a third-person perspective, in which players once again assume control of Assassin Agent 47. 47 travels to various locations and carries out contracted assassinations, continuing the story of the last two games. Number 16 is Resident Evil 4 Remake. Players control the U.S. agent Leon S. Kennedy, who must save Ashley Graham, the daughter of the United States President, from the mysterious Los Illuminados cult. The remake has an updated plot, new visuals, characters, cast, and altered gameplay. Number 15 is Metro Exodus. The player controls player character Artyom, who must leave the tunnels of Moscow and travel across the post-apocalyptic wasteland of the former Russian Federation and Republic of Kazakhstan while fighting against mutated creatures and hostile humans. Number 14 is Mafia Definitive Edition is an action-adventure game developed by Hangar 13 and published by 2K. Tommy is a taxi driver struggling to survive the Great Depression. He is strong-armed by two members of the Salieri crime family, Paulie Lombardo and Sam Trapani. Number 13 is Quantum Break is an action-adventure video game played from a third-person perspective. Players play as Jack Joyce, who has time manipulation powers in a world where time stutters, making everything freeze except Joyce. Number 12 is Red Dead Redemption 2 is a Western-themed action-adventure game. Played from a first- or third-person perspective, the game is set in an open-world environment featuring a fictionalized version of the United States in 1899. Number 11 is Trials Rising. The player controls a rider on a physics-based motorcycle from the start of the level to the end while navigating a number of obstacles. The game features obstacle courses set in various parts of the world such as the Eiffel Tower and Mount Everest. Number 10 is Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus is a first-person shooter. Once again, the player assumes control of the series' protagonist, William B.J. Blazkowicz, who must venture into a Nazi-occupied America to ignite a revolution against the Nazi regime. Number 9 is Uncharted 4, A Thief's End is an action-adventure game played from a third-person perspective, with platforming elements. Players traverse several environments, moving through locations including towns, buildings, and wilderness to advance through the game's story. Number 8 is The Last of Us, an action-adventure game played from a third-person perspective. The player traverses post-apocalyptic environments to advance the story, and uses firearms, improvised weapons, hand-to-hand combat, and stealth to defend against hostile humans and cannibalistic creatures known as the Infected. Number 7 is State of Decay 2 is a zombie survival game, with an emphasis on scavenging for items, in which gameplay is experienced from a third-person view. The game is set in an open-world environment and features cooperative gameplay with up to 3 other players. Number 6 is Need for Speed Unbound is a racing game set in a fictional city called Lakeshore City, which is based on Chicago. It features an open-world environment. Number 5 is Kinna, Bridge of Spirits is an action-adventure game played from a third-person perspective. The player controls Kinna, a young spirit guide with magical abilities. In combat, the player uses Kinna's staff for light, heavy, and charged attacks. Number 4 is Dying Light 2 is an action role-playing survival horror video game featuring a zombie apocalyptic-themed open world. Number 3 is Dead Island 2 takes place in Los Angeles in the midst of a zombie apocalypse. At the beginning of the game, players have to select from one of 6 playable characters as their player avatar called a Slayer. Number 2 is Biomutant is an action role-playing game set in an open-world environment and played from a third-person perspective in which the player takes control of a mammalian warrior in a world filled with mutated animals. And number 1 is Assassin's Creed Origins is an action role-playing video game played from a third-person perspective. Players complete quests, linear scenarios with set objectives, to progress through the story, and can freely roam the open-world environment. So that's all guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, so please like this video and subscribe my channel and don't forget to notifications. So thanks again and see you soon on next video. And good, bye.